Very quick video about the election in North Down, or the general election in North Down, and what might happen with the various different candidates that are standing. Obviously, as a unionist, I want to see a unionist candidate win. I want to see a unionist candidate that's strong and represents us win the seat. At the minute, it's in the hands of Stephen Farry, who called his constituents racists, who made his opening speech in Parliament in Irish, and is not popular, to say the least, among unionists in North Down. We've got to get rid of Stephen Farry. So what are we offered? What's on offer for unionist voters in North Down? Two choices: Colonel Tim Collins or Alex Easton. Let's look at the chances of those two people, and let's look a little bit about what those people are like first. First of all, Tim Collins, an absolute legend. It's as simple as that. He is. I served with him in the 1980s in South Armagh, and he was simply the best officer that I ever served with. He was a leader. He was amiable, but he was strong. He didn't have to coerce people. People followed Tim Collins because they trusted him and they knew he was a good soldier. Look at his record. He joined the SAS. He was a senior officer in the Special Air Service. He led his battalion, the Royal Irish Regiment, in the Iraq War in 2003, or whenever it was that the invasion of Iraq took place. Great guy. He made that epic speech on the eve of the war, which has gone down in history. I remember that George W. Bush had a copy of that speech and a photo of Tim Collins in the White House. So he is a leader and a very, very good man. That's it. He is a good guy, and I have a lot of time for him. And I've emailed him when he decided to stand for election. However, I genuinely believe that this is a fight he can't win. Let's look at Alex Easton. Alex has been a constituency MLA for a long time. He's tried to get elected to Parliament certainly once, possibly twice. He was beaten in the last election almost by default because the UUP stood a candidate. In North Down, because of the voter patterns in North Down, to be assured a win in North Down, Unionists need to stand together and they need to have one candidate. The UUP has scuppered this for at least the last general election and tried to do the same in the assembly elections. The reality is that in North Down, there is no place for two strong unionist candidates. All that will happen is it will guarantee that Farry gets another 4 years. So here's the situation. Tim Collins is standing. Looking at the stats, and facts don't care about our feelings, as a famous American commentator says. Facts don't care about our feelings. The facts are that Tim Collins can't win. He can split the vote, but he can't win. Alex Easton is the only candidate that can win this seat, unless Alex steps down, and then Tim Collins would have a chance. But Alex isn't going to step down, and I genuinely believe. And Tim Collins is no mug. He's a very intelligent guy. He's a very bright guy. But I believe Doug Beattie has sold him a pup. I don't know what conversations have taken place in the background. I don't know what's gone on, but Tim Collins has been literally parachuted into, to coin a phrase, and all that's going to happen, because Tim Collins is a popular guy and he is a good man and he is an excellent soldier, but that doesn't mean he's an excellent politician. It also doesn't mean he'd be an excellent constituency politician. So I'm nobody. I don't. The only skin I have in the game in this is I want to see a unionist win in North Down. And what you've got to go with in that situation, if there was another person standing, I would be saying exactly the same thing, no matter who it was. The reality is we've got to go for the strongest candidate. And like I say, I don't favour either. I genuinely don't. I want to see the best man win. I want to see the man who gets the most votes win, obviously. And that man has to be Alex Easton. And it's purely on the polling data. If you look at the previous assembly elections, if you look at the opinion polling, if you look at the last general election, if an Ulster Unionist had not stood, then Alex would have won. It's as simple as that. Now, what's happened in this election? The TUV have said they'll stand aside. The DUP have said they'll stand aside. I think the Conservatives have said they'll stand aside. I could be wrong in that. But a lot of the smaller parties, the Reform Party is not going to stand anyone. So basically, everybody that is Unionist is standing aside except the UUP. And I think it's very cynical of Doug Beattie to parachute Tim Collins in. And like I say, I've sent Tim Collins the stats. We had a very polite discourse backwards and forwards. He remembered me, which I was not surprised at, but I was impressed with. He also remembered a lot of the names of other men that were in my unit, which I thought was very, very good. And we had a very friendly dialogue, and we agreed to differ. Let's just put it that way. We agreed to differ, and I wish him well in any political career that he has going forward. But for North Down, we've got to get behind Alex Easton, and we've got to vote for Alex. And that's not because I favour Alex over Tim. Not in the least. Both of them are great guys. Both of them would make great MPs. But there's only one person can win in terms of unionism. That's Alex. And what I do fear is because Tim's such a good guy, that he'll dilute the Unionist vote, he'll split the Unionist vote, and we'll be left with the dreadful Dr Farry. Farry is not a friend of the union. He's not a friend of the people of North Down. He called his constituents racist, his constituents who had genuine concerns about the migrant hotels, who had genuine concerns about people being trafficked into our country and then put up in hotels. He called them racists when they made it very clear they weren't racists. We've got to get rid of Stephen Farry, and the only way we can do that is by voting for Alex Easton. So, Tim, I'm sorry. I didn't want to make this video, and I do it with a heavy heart because I know what a good guy you are, and you've had a stellar career. You're an absolute credit to the British Army. You show what it's like to be a professional soldier, but this is a totally different kettle of fish. And I would ask you to even step down, because what's the point in taking a fight that you can't win? What's the point in having a battle that you're going to lose that actually doesn't advance the cause of the union in any way, shape, or form? Because all that can happen, if you get a bigger vote than's expected, all that's going to do is play into Stephen Farry's hands. And Farry has to go. And I think the only way to do that is by backing Alex. And what would be good if the UUP were actually magnanimous and said, we're actually going to stand down and we're going to give Alex a free run at this. So I'd make that appeal to the UUP. Get out of the game. Let Alex win this election. Let him have 4 years as an MP. See what he does. If he doesn't behave or act in a way that any of us think is worthy of being an MP, 5 years. Then in 5 years' time, we can kick him out and get someone else in. But give him a go and get rid of Stephen Farry. Anyway, I've spoken long enough about that. That's my opinion on what's happening. That's what we've got to do as voters in North Down. Tim can't win. All Tim Collins will do is guarantee a Farry victory if he starts getting any traction. If he doesn't get any traction, it's going to be... he can't... There's nothing good come out of this for Tim Collins. The best thing that Tim Collins can do is say, do you know what? I'm going to step aside. I'm going to leave the field and let, for the sake of unionism, I'm going to let Alex have a free run. And Alex will win. If Tim Collins steps aside, Alex will certainly win. If he doesn't, he still might win. And if he does win, then he will win. And also, Tim Collins will get a very, very small percentage of the vote and will be, I'm not going to say humiliated, but it won't look good. And if Tim Collins gets a big chunk of the vote,